and good morning to you, our viewers on NTN. Thank you so much for joining us. We continue the COVID-19 response this Saturday morning. My name is Jessie Leonce, and in studio with me is Judy Turville, Tony Nicholas, and Carlton Cyril, better known as Cokes. We are a sort of a panel today discussing the week that was. It was quite an eventful week. We saw the lifting of the 24-hour curfew to a 10-hour curfew, businesses being opened, gas stations, supermarkets, and banks being open to accommodate persons who needed supplies after the 6-day shutdown. I now want to engage my panelists on the week that was, and also the Friday when we actually got word of a new case being confirmed here on island. Judy, Tony.
Good morning, viewers. Good morning, Jessie. Hi, Tony.
Good morning. Well, let's look at, yesterday was Good Friday. For many of us, it probably may not have looked like it was a holiday Good Friday because since the country have been on lockdown for the most part, but how did you guys spend your Good Friday?
I was hunting for my old movies.
I noticed no one brought me any akras this morning, no leftover akras.
Let's not talk about
yesterday.
the akras.
Or it was a different Good Friday
akras didn't happen
because
this
of
year.
COVID-19.
Akras didn't happen this year.
So even the little tweet and the saltfish, you'll practice social distancing from that?
Get in line for the saltfish.
It didn't happen. It didn't happen, sadly. And I have a source annually who feeds me with akra, and my sauce broke down, so it's just, it wasn't, that was just
sauce
wrong.
In the sauce you did the akra in, or the sauce?
Person who prepares my akra every year for the last maybe 25 odd years. Okay. But that's all I'm going to say, because the sauce knows themselves.
Wow.
So, yeah, you can sense the rancor still.
But I find a lot of people were posting on social media their dishes and so on, but it still was a very quiet Good Friday,
it was
very quiet. Even in my neighborhood, it was the sound of people minding their business. No interaction between neighbors, persons obeying, the protocols established by this shutdown. So that in itself was good.
But one of the big things for me is, as Catholic, and I've talked about this over the last week or so, normally on Good Friday we have the Way of the Cross in the morning at 3-4 o'clock in the morning. I mean, we look forward to that. I mean, we spend the year looking forward to it. So everybody comes out, not everybody, but the Catholic community will come out in the streets at 3 to 4 in the morning and meet at specific areas, whether from the La Clery Church, the Cathedral, or the Marsha, Secret Heart of Marsha parish. And we traverse the streets and meet at the central location and all get onto Calvary, where we have the 14th station. The final station is delivered, and then we have the Mass. And so that's over at about maybe 8:30. And of course, at that point, we halt the traffic as well. But to start the morning with a candle on the street in the dark, to me, is the most sacred thing. And if you choose not to go, that's fine. But then to not have a choice and not having the event, to me, is the saddest thing in the history of the church. And since it started, maybe I would say 25 odd years ago is when it started. And then we just began to look forward to this event so much. Children, older people, people who couldn't walk are in cars, the younger ones are walking as well. It was just such a pilgrimage from a Catholic religious perspective, and a spectacle to look forward to. But it didn't happen this year, and so that set the tone differently for the day as well. And so now, after that happens, when I get home, I would have my hard-boiled egg and a black cup of tea, because of course it's fasting and prayer. But even that didn't happen. So it just, the whole course of the day changed because of the last 3 or 4 weeks in our lives and how that changed as well. And then, for me now, it becomes a literal sit down, do nothing, but sit with the remote and find Gladiator, and then find the robe, and then find the old movies that are not coming this year. And so the day passes.
Did you watch Passion of the Christ?
I didn't see that one.
It's typical that people watch these.
But yes, those are the kinds of the 10 Commandments. Oh, my movie. I could watch that every single year.
And today, of course, Jody a say, Samedi Gloria, c'est ça que Jody a dit.
Oui.
Attends, mais moi c'est.
Oui, et puis, bon, on dit bonjour à son Samedi Gloria, quand on a dit bonjour by Jessie, et puis bonjour, mademoiselle Judy, qui est puis nous. Moi-même, pour des différents, moi, changer les mots, moi, je dis, Tony, yon l'année qui passée, moi, de Jess, l'autre pays, avec moi, j'étais tellement content. Parce que je ne sais pas, moi, j'étais bien fléassé à quoi, moi. Y'en m'a tout le temps, moi. Ma couillot, comme moi, avec moi, gavé pour ça, nous fait ça. Ça, c'est yon l'année qui passée avec Tony, regardez, moi, il même de Trinidad, dans le temps qu'on a, il était Jess, Boudjou de Jess qui était la hall. So, il y a des cas où nous dans yon là ne kate bagay qui ça fait une différence. Mais moi teni il était bon. Matin ça complain pour yon vendredi saint. Moi teni à quoi? Et pour moun qui ka suivre moi sur Facebook, WhatsApp. Non, moi le Facebook là WhatsApp. En chay moun ka yo moun di moi esprit moi ka fait bouche couler comme ça. Quoi moi teni à quoi? Moi teni à manger moi bien manger mango en saison moi manger mango moi coco moi boire coco et puis matin ça complain avec place là pour yon bagay te somme bien calme comme si dit oui en rien il était juste vle sans manger blanc en Noël avec matin ça comprendre avec yon c'est bail là moi te ka dit voisinage moi il était vinn mawe befli avec moi ça ouais from balcon moi avec moi te ka dit isam qui nous vle qui nous pas vle à présent la terre et ben toute bagaille nati en tout bout ou ka espérer plus bon vent
Bien.
la pani machine qu'on avant factory du bout de travail moun pa ka boire wom quoi pas dit moun pa hen faire vendredi saint nous pas teni je wom ka boire pas dit moun qui teni wom ka yo so l'année manière pour balancer si pour fini so l'année manière pour balancer pour dire pas dit nous tout trouver qu'on nous affecté par vermine l'année bon bagay qui sorti en toute bail mon ka veille comme ça.
Absolutely. We are due for our first break. Of course, there's so much more coming up. We are going to be looking at the past week's events, as I mentioned earlier, quite eventful. Prime Minister making pronouncements. We just got a word of another diagnosis of the COVID-19 and the 24-hour curfew being lifted here on island. So much to look forward to. We're going to encapsulate all of that in this morning's broadcast. So stay tuned for more.
Hi, I'm Jim Joseph, President of the Beausejour Community Group. We believe Saint Lucia can win the war against the coronavirus, and here's how. Every community in Saint Lucia must mobilize, coordinate, monitor and support residents the way we would before, during and after a natural disaster. Identify volunteers in your community, assign them roles and deploy them. Ensure your elderly and vulnerable understand all protocols. Help relatives, shield them from unnecessary contact with others. Identify those recently unemployed and vulnerable neighbors living alone. Put systems in place to filter updates from official sources throughout your community. Promote the hotline number 311. If it takes a village to raise a child, then all of us can come together to defend the village against the coronavirus. Let's do it.
Together let us win this war. Saint Lucia be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
Welcome back to this morning's program, the COVID-19 Response Report. We'd like to thank all our viewers. If you're just joining, we are bringing you a summary of the week that was in terms of the 10-hour curfew being reduced, the Prime Minister announcing the social stabilization plan for the island amid so many being affected by this COVID-19 onslaught. We have all of that encapsulated for you this morning to ensure that you don't miss out. There might have been days you were out on the supermarket line and you didn't have the chance to sit in and watch the morning's program this week. So we have all of that put together for you. We're going to begin with St. Lucia confirming its 15th COVID-19 case. We had another diagnosis announced by the Chief Medical Officer on Friday, Good Friday. Quite unfortunate news, but we're going to go to that clip. The Ministry of Health and Wellness issued that press release on Good Friday, 10th April. Take a look.
On Friday, April 10th, 2020, St. Lucia confirmed one additional case of COVID-19, bringing our national total to 15. A total of 24 samples were tested, with 1 positive and 23 negatives. This new positive case of COVID-19 is an 18-year-old male who is a close contact of a previously confirmed case. He was initially placed in home quarantine and upon developing symptoms was taken in for testing and isolated. Contact tracing for this case is ongoing.
15 total cases as at Friday, 10th April. 32 persons in quarantine, 19 in isolation. COVID-19 cases in isolation continue to do well and respond well to treatment. No COVID-19 cases have complicated or required respiratory support. Tony, do you think with the increasing numbers, persons become more and more complacent? Or I don't know.
I think there are mixed reactions. I mean, I had the good fortune, if you may call it that. I was able to traverse across the island on Wednesday. Also able to test what was put in place with the zoning, the north and south and so on. And I must say the police officers are doing a fantastic job, you know, asking you for the required letters or passes that will allow you to move from one zone to the other, providing that you're an essential worker.
So are they stopping everyone?
Yes. Well, it's not many people moving back and forth. I must say, going down, there were about 2 vehicles ahead of us that were stopped. On our way up, there was just 1 vehicle. And I think I'm getting mixed reaction from persons along the way. Some persons, a lot of anxiety, I must say. A number of persons are quite aware of what is going on and taking heed. But if any situation, you do have persons who it still seems very foreign to them.
Yeah, it hasn't
hit
home.
It hasn't hit home. And still the attitude of, you know, it won't touch me. And I think the numbers for them seem to be relatively low when you look at 15
global
on the global scale. But 15 is still high as a percentage of our population. When you look at Jamaica, you know, was over 2 million people. And when you look at their cases per capita, we are pretty high as compared to Jamaica. So it is still cause for concern. And the fact that even if it is just 1 case per week or 2 cases or what have you, the fact that the numbers, there's an increase, is need for concern.
Carlton, do you think people are waking up to the reality of the situation globally, the COVID-19? I mean, based on your experiences from Cul-de-sac area, do you think people are wise to it and taking the necessary precautions?
Naidi, yon se bagay la ki fet lan, chay moun sav sa ki ka ale ak vemin nan. Moun sav nou nan situasyon, moun sav ou supposé nettoyer l'amant, moun sav ou supposé met en masse, mais pour yon raison e ban l'autre, en compagnie moun, en chay moun sav information, yo connaît li. Yo sav ou supposé ou ete distance 6 pieds, mais pour yon raison e ban l'autre, moi kwe, parce que nous pas connait avec merci Dieu, nous pas connait pièce la mort, moi quand chay moun ka kwe depo pa wè en réfugié en moun yo pa ni. Ek si moun nan pas malade ek pa ka tousse, yo pa ni, ek yon nan se bagay le yo ko oublié, un moun qui en bonne santé, il pas besoin tousse, il pas besoin ni la fièvre, il pas ek ni vermin. Quand moi que ça c'est yon nan se message là moun ni pou comprendre. Dat ki même si ou pa wè moun nan ka tousse, même si yo dou moun sa pa ni, moun sa c'est un moun en santé, ek i chaye. Bon, lè nou di sa chaye, c'est moun nan ki pli von nou aban parmi nou, c'est gwan moun nou. Ek ou sa mene bay gwan maman ou la kayou, ou sa mene bay un gwan moun an dan boutique ki ni ti boutique li, kwa pa dit an ay di an chay moun sav ki sa ki ka ale a, an chay moun konet sa pou fe, yon an se bagay la yo ka oubliye, c'est dat ki lan an kompani moun ka chaye vemin nan, e ki pan le fidja yo pa ka mouche pièce sin di maladi, mais yo ni ek danger c'est gwan moun nan ki a parmi nous c'est moun sa ki pli vulnérable ek ou kay point même vemin sa dat ki moun ou pa ka même ouais ek menen di dan kay menen l'autre côté quand commission ka wete kayo sou pa les pièces côté sou ni ou yo sav ko pouvé ek ou pa kay bay personne ni bas ou kayo.
I think in many respects this week, I mean even the weeks before, it seems to have been business as usual. You know, even persons getting out of hand in the city, and you know, fights and so on. You know, even fighting. If I was had a propensity for disagreements with persons, I certainly wouldn't want to be touching them at this point in time.
Exactly.
So there would be fights, you know. But we've seen a lot of you know, a lot of encounters where persons have had to rub up against each other, you know.
Maybe that's all part of the stress and dealing with it as well.
That too.
Because, I mean, we've never been here before. And all of a sudden, people are told not to leave their homes for extended periods of time. And then when they do leave home now, they are forced to face a situation that they've never faced before, where they cannot get into a supermarket when they want to, at will, to get their own groceries. And so that has increased the stress levels. And I don't know that we are necessarily able to deal with stress, that kind of stress on a regular basis for the last week, 3 weeks. So all of that, I think, is part of the tension. And now we're forced to, although we're saying the 6 feet apart, we're still forced to come together to get the necessary groceries and so on. But it's another point I wanted to introduce is that of, in a St. Lucian context, and while we prepare for disaster and hurricanes on a regular basis, or we've been told to prepare, the actual action of preparing, I don't know that we've actually ever taken it to the point where you now have in your house a box of dry goods so that you can dip into that when you need to, which is where we are now.
Yes.
So we've actually not understood how to prepare for any disaster. So you find that the very next day after the lockdown, people were petrified because they thought they didn't have enough to eat, they wouldn't have enough food, didn't have enough money, because we've never put aside a little tin of just loose change so that you can buy some bread if you need it, or a box with crackers, tuna fish, corned beef, so that when there is a need, which is now, you can get it and you're not hungry. So we've not actually understood that this is the kind of planning we need to do for disaster so that we can actually be prepared. We think, oh, a hurricane is coming, so we rush out and do the panic buying. We buy the rice, the flour, the sugar, yes, because we think we can cook after the hurricane. Then the hurricane passes over us, knock on wood, and we complain and we shout at Nemo because the hurricane didn't come to us. We went and bought all this stuff and now we have it on hand. But what is it that we're actually buying? So rather than the panic buying, it's the smart buying that we need to do now so that we can actually have supplies to last for 2 good weeks. If it is that, like now we know what can happen, a reality is we can be on lockdown for 24 hours, for more than 3 days, and we need to know that we can feed ourselves efficiently.
Another point to add to that, I mean, we've had hurricane watch for so many years that we sort of, it was the simulation. Every year is the simulation, but we haven't had a simulation exercise for an influenza outbreak, you know, an outbreak of this viral outbreak. So in a lot of respects, St. Lucians just weren't prepared. And we had, go ahead.
If I may just go back to the recent case, I think there's something we need to stress on. The fact that this recent case is 18 years. So we're now witnessing a span in terms of the age range. The oldest, I think, was in the 50s. You know, so now we're seeing what all the experts are saying in recent times, that there's no respect of age. At first, we were saying that, you know, the elderly were the most susceptible. You know, and a lot of persons figure, okay, I'm young and strong, and, you know, this thing won't touch me. So now that we have an 18-year-old, I think, again, the reality of this thing is beginning to hit home. And what we're really trying to avoid is that we have, to date, there's 0 deaths, and we continue to pray and hope that it remains that way. And that the authorities, the medical practitioners, our nurses, our doctors are really doing a phenomenal job in terms of taking care of some of these patients. And which brings me to the point, I don't know, before we go to the next clip, we could probably just mention this, the telethon happening tomorrow. This is something to come to the assistance of those persons. I don't know if any of you saw what happened in Trinidad on Thursday. I think there was it was a national applause day, where persons literally came out of their homes, aligned the streets, to basically applaud and cheer on those medical practitioners. I mean, some of the videos I've seen of this thing, you know, these are our new heroes. You know, persons in the past, you know, what you'll see on social media is that persons cursing up the nurses when they go to VH or various hospitals and they don't get attended to right away. But now we are saying, hey, we really do need those persons. And I also want to bring in that these persons are not only attending to COVID-19. You still have them doing the deliveries, the midwives, everything. I mean, life goes on.
COVID has strained the healthcare system.
Exactly. You know, so I just wanted to bring that in.
Another interesting point I picked up on our newscast was the issue of the sort of dislike, or not necessarily dislike, but then nurses or medical people here are sort of shunted because they're seen as being on the front lines of COVID, and so people don't want them on the buses with them because they feel that's exactly the word. So I was surprised when I heard that on the news, and I'm thinking, but wait a minute, I mean, these are the people saving our lives, and here we are discriminating against them because we feel that, you know, they're going to pass something on to us. And I guess again it's just misunderstandings.
But in the region that was starting to happen with hotel workers, you know,
in small communities,
certainly,
indeed.
Certainly. Well, there have been no deaths on island. There have been no complications, but abroad, it was important to note. We got word from the the ambassador with responsibility for diaspora affairs announcing to us and confirming that there had been COVID-19 deaths of nationals abroad. As at Thursday this week, 14 succumbed and 15 were battling this viral disease. Confirmed on Thursday, we had that interview with Dr. Jocelyn Clark Fletcher, the ambassador responsible for diaspora affairs. Do we have that clip? Okay, no, we do not. But she was essentially telling us, giving us the information that 14 succumbed and 15 were battling. And she was a bit, we're not going to play the clip because she was a bit, there's a bit of static on that video, yes. So just to confirm, 14 succumbed and 15 battling. So right now in Saint Lucia, and kudos to the healthcare system, as well as, you know, just luck of Saint Lucia, you know, that we've not had any deaths as yet on island. However, there have been deaths on abroad. So as at Thursday this week, 14 succumbed and 15 battling. I mean, if the cases here don't bring it home, I hope the cases abroad bring it home, you know, because a lot of persons have lost relatives, you know, persons who have known somebody living in New York or Amsterdam or England who might have succumbed to, you know, this thing.
But Jesse, even in Antigua, and that's Caribbean-wide, 2 of the deaths are medical people on the front lines as well, you know. So, I mean, we don't have to go as far as international in this instance to understand that this is touching our lives as regular people within the region are becoming affected.
And 3 deaths in Barbados, I think?
Something like that.
3 deaths in Barbados. You know, so it's really, really increasing. Unfortunately so, but we have to keep our wits about us in terms of taking precaution and making sure that we keep our homes, ourselves, and our households in check. This week, we also saw the Prime Minister announcing the social stabilization plan for COVID-19. The Prime Minister announced on Wednesday that National Insurance Corporation will fund the temporary income support for its contributors, and the government of St. Lucia will fund subsistence allowances for non-contributors. We have the first clip.
With respect to NIC contributors, a monthly payment relative to your salary of no less than $500 and $1,500 a month will be offered, depending on what your salary was, for a period of 3 months in the first instance, starting in April. Persons eligible for this program had to have paid contributions to the fund for at least 1 month prior to February 2020. They must have become unemployed as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. They must not have been in receipt of any other benefits from the NIC.
And just to give you a few quick facts, the National Insurance Corporation allowance is expected to be between $33 to $80 million over a 3-month period, depending on the number of eligible persons. A review will be conducted to determine if an extension of another 3 months will be needed. Now, non-contributors of NIC, and we're talking taxi drivers, vendors, small business persons, persons in the creative industry, those who have been displaced through loss of employment or income will receive a fixed allowance from government.
This income support will be in the amount of $500 monthly for 3 months. This is expected to be in excess of $16.8 million based on the number of eligible persons. Our situation today brings to light the importance of persons signing up to NIC. For those not making a contribution and who the government will be providing support to, a precondition will be that they must sign up to the NIC.
And folks, quite a relief here for the persons who have been affected. I mean, the hotel workers numbered in the thousands, 15,000 I think, who've lost their jobs. Even people like mentioned the non-NIC contributors, taxi drivers, vendors, these persons' business have become, you know, obsolete in this situation. Can you speak to, I mean, the relief, can imagine, of the persons out there who can now expect some sort of subsistence from the authorities.
Encore, nous ici à Headquarters Vermin GIS Studio, dans studio nous et puis nous, Mazel Jesse, avec nous Mazel Judy et puis Tony, nous avons discuté tout ça qui point court en si maintenant pour peut-être partir là ou qui a fait une commission, et bien c'est ligne là, trouver quoi, yon manière ben l'autre engagé, ça nous a parlé d'hier pour peut-être pour qu'on sache à présent ça qui nie nous ni un monde qui a contacté Verminé, ben, il y a ça qui est bien important, nous avons discuté assez. Un jeune homme, c'est un jeune homme, 18 ans. Quand nous voulons savoir, ça qui est bien important, c'est d'être qu'il est venu pour les gens qui vont nous avons dit grand monde, et que chaque monde qui c'est grand monde, mais nous voulons savoir, jeune monde qui a aussi. Quand à présent, ça a mené pour 15 personnes qui ont contacté Vermin COVID-19. 15 nous ni à présent et manière c'est les moyens as 6 mois jaban nous ni 32 moun qui en quarantine nous ni 19 moun qui en isolation et puis et pour ça il dit on a c'est bon bah là tout ça c'est là qui c'est moun ça traitement qu'a aller puis nous pas ni personne qui ja mort et ben personne qui brisé pièce machine pour essayer point l'expiation qui c'est un bon bagay. Parmi l'autre bagay, Mazel Jesse, hallo maintenant, les vini pour plan Premier ministre bay pays as a résultat du Vermin Covid là. Premier ministre vini et un plan. Parmi bagay un chaimoun bien content pour tant, c'est les vini pour NIC. NIC qu'a expecté pour dépenser à peu près 33 pour 80 millions de dollars pour assister moun qui trouvé quoi affecté yon manière et ben l'autre. Mais ou kay ni pour savent, c'est faux ou registré puis NIC, c'est faux ou te payer NIC yon mois avant ça ou passant à aller quoi ou on kay joindre la ni condition et comment bien dit yo kan entamé pour faire ça pour 3 mois. Tout ça kay dépendait quantité moun qui registré, quantité moun yo kay ni pour payer et gouvernement kay considérer si yo kay aller en l'autre 3 mois. L'autre bagay là kay savent, moun kon chauffeur taxi ou vendeuse, moun qui pas capé NIC et ben registré puis NIC. Gouvernement kay aussi assister ces moun ça. Condition à sous ça ou kay fait assurer ou ni pour registrer et puis NIC à présent et encore première condition gouvernement qui expecté pour faire pour un premier 3 mois. Quand Jessica bien demandé moi là venu pour situation nous a dit moi quoi c'est nouvelle en chay moun kay bien content pour tant mais c'est faut nous changer ces conditions et moi ka quoi yon manière ben l'autre ça c'est yon bagay qui nous pièce pas expériencer et moi ka quoi gouvernement ka fait coiper et puis il kay assister en chay moun il kay ba un chay moun soulagement et c'est pas un bagay pour ba au salaire ou pèd là mais un bagay pour assister aider ou ba un petit chance ou même c'est un bill ou ça puis gain mettez manger à sous table.
Yeah. Now, quite a few persons have been querying, how do I claim, especially with the National Insurance Corporation and the limited business hours happening under the curfew? So how to claim? We got a press release from the National Insurance Corporation shortly after the Prime Minister made this announcement as part of his social stabilization plan. And the press release included a statement how to claim. Claims are to be made using an electronic form, which will be available on the NIC website, Saint Lucia, nic.org from Monday, April 13th, 2020. You will be required to provide the following information: your name, your NIC number, your date of birth, the company you last worked for, the date that you were laid off, the date vacation leave ends if on vacation leave, any financial or relief assistance being provided by your company you worked for, and your bank details. Provisions will be made for persons unable to file electronically to use designated boxes placed at the NIC offices at Castries, Vieux-Fort, and Soufrière. How will the payment be made? In light of the current restrictions necessitated by the corona pandemic, payment will be made directly to your bank account via the electronic fund transfer facility offered by banks using the bank information from claim forms. These extraordinary times know that more than ever, the NIC remains committed to providing you with the support and the service you may need. We will continue to provide information on the program as required and on the other measures we're taking to support our contributors during this difficult time. So quite a swift response to the COVID-19 induced situation we're now in, persons losing their jobs, persons now, the uncertainty that looms ahead, it was a point of much anxiety for some people, and now the Prime Minister has announced that we can look forward to some subsistence allowances from both the government for non-contributors of NIC and the National Insurance Corporation for those who make contributions.
Yes, Jason, as was said, it's a social stabilization plan, and I think Coates made a point quite clearly that it is just something to help you carry through, to bridge the gap, sort of. And there are many variations to this stabilization plan, many aspects. It is not just a question of giving persons some money, but there are other aspects of it. For example, the earlier commencement of the duty-free barrel concession, which begins this year in June. Now, some folks may query and say, well, my folks in New York who normally send the barrel, they've been affected. But there are folks who receive barrels and goods from other source markets. So it's not just to say, well, this is the only thing that we're looking at. There are folks in other areas, and hopefully by the time June comes around, there may be some stabilization in some of those markets that folks will be able to, access some goods and supplies from overseas to bring them some sort of relief. So that's one area, as well as the National Meals Program that's also being put into place to help, the more vulnerable persons among us, Jesse.
The issue of banking moratoriums on loans as well.
Yes.
Is also a
moratoriums. I mean, there was a lot of, we couldn't confirm the specificity because we were hearing one thing from the banks and in some cases nothing at all, and the Prime Minister made that assurance from very early on. So in the Social Stabilization Plan announcement, he did make a statement with regard to the banks confirming this. He also added that the government is currently in talks with insurance agencies on behalf of Saint Lucian residents and businesses affected by COVID-19 to offer a moratorium on the payment of their insurance premiums without losing coverage. So persons are asked to contact their insurance brokers to formalize the agreed upon arrangements between the government of Saint Lucia and these insurance agencies.
Yes, and on Thursday, let me just stick that in there, I did an interview with a representative from Sagicor, and they did confirm that this was already in place. And if persons had any questions, that they could call in, to query and so on, but they were assisting persons in terms of formalizing the agreement, in terms of the payments for their premiums and what have you. And just to stick that in there as well, Sagicor have already come on board. They've made a contribution to the Ministry of Health for protective gear for healthcare workers, and they've also made a contribution to the ahead of the telethon of $10,000. No, I'm not the PR person for Sagicor, but since we did that interview on Thursday, I just thought I would just bring that in there at this time. So I just want to say thanks to Sagicor.
A number of other corporate citizens have also stepped into that plate as well.
Yes, Massey Stores, Baron Foods, SNS, and all. Yes, so.
Yeah. One thing I want to make note of, it seemed as a very small snippet in the Prime Minister's statements on Wednesday, it was? Tuesday? Wednesday. Yes, he mentioned that, making an appeal to creditors, and that's landlords, that is hire purchase companies, to have to demonstrate some compassion, to offer some sort of grace to providing relief to persons indebted to them. So, it wasn't a hard and fast rule that he made, but, an appeal to the general public, a soft suggestion to, at this moment, individuals may not at the time, we have these, the allowances from government and NIC rolling out at the end of April. Until such time, individuals do not have the funds to perhaps pay their rent, to perhaps honor their hire purchase agreements and so on. So, an appeal being made for grace during this time.
What was also, sorry, Judy, go ahead.
This really brings home the fact that every single person is affected, whether you are a regular a regular citizen of the country or a commercial citizen of the country, that one way or another, that we have debts to pay as individuals and as owners of companies and leaders, that everyone is affected and requires some sort of assistance one way or another.
Just bon moi dire ça moi quoi ça c'est un bagage qui est bien important quand nous va continuer discuter qui manière yon moun sa hen assistance nan hod NIC qu'on gouvernement a annoncé plan by nation en chay moun ni question ça ka mandé kou moun qui qualifié qui manière sa hen et puis nous ni information ka sorti hod NIC cadeau pour yon moun peut qualifier pour assistance ça ou supposé c'est yon moun qui te ka travail avant Covid là et te a payé mois qui c'est février avant toute bagaille commencer venir manière hier pour peut qualifier là NIC j'ai dit yon moun ça fait ça sous internet là adresse là ou besoin c'est Saint Lucia NIC.org Saint Lucia NIC.org ou ça une information ça avec ça kay besoin non numéro NIC date là ou fait là et compagnon de travail bay là date là ou perd travail as a result de COVID ou kay ni pour moucher ça vacances sous livre sous ou ni ça et ka point et sous ka une pièce assistant hot pièce l'autre côté ou besoin yo savent ça et puis hot banque détail banque ou parce que yo ka vous doit date qui moun pas juste combler puis venir là l'autre bay là aussi provision kay fait pour moun qui vle qui pas ni computer qui pas de manière pour faire yo kay do la ni boîte yo kay mettre en ces office là qui casse-lui vieux fort et puis souffouyer quoi moi que c'est un bagage qui est bien important d'être que moun pay attention pour manière ka faire parce que yo kay encourager moun aller sur computer sur adresse là parce que yo pas vle moun venir après yon a l'autre combler yon a l'autre changer nous kan empêcher moun si mais au G vers maintenant nous parler des affaires insurance l'assurance là ou kay sa hen anti chance moi aussi supposé payer yo kay ba anti chance mais kay ni pour payer ça pas vle do pas ni pour payer yo ni kay ba en chance pour ça payer l'assurance aussi bah oui kay commencer venir pli et bonheur parmi l'autre bagaille nous a discuté ici.
Wonderful. We are now due for another break. When we come back, we continue talks on the Prime Minister's social stabilization plan, and we also go into the 10-hour curfew. It was reduced from 24 hours to 10 hours, and also the zoning implemented this week. Do stay tuned.
Yeah. What does coronavirus have in common with love? Both are highly contagious. Spread love, not the virus. Like you, COVID-19 loves a lime. Beach, river, or fed. Coronavirus is like these people who track every lime just to invade. The best way to put off invaders? Cancel the lime. Spread love, not the virus. Keep you and your crew corona-free. Live to lime another day.
Together let us win this war. Saint Lucia be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
The effect on the clergy.
Clergy. Okay. Welcome back to the program this morning, the COVID-19 response report. We're looking at the week that was from Monday all the way down to Friday. Quite an eventful week. We got a new case of the coronavirus on island. The 24-hour curfew was lifted, but we did still have certain restrictions. We did have a 10-hour curfew. It was reduced, and zoning was implemented on island. So quite a few activities happened this week. And speaking of zoning and continued physical distancing protocols, I just want to hand over to Judy, who did an interview with the Archbishop this week. So Judy, tell us about that interview.
But before I take the handover, it's almost as though I wasn't here and I'm here now.
Welcome to the show.
There you go. I just like the lighter side sometimes, that's all.
Oh, yeah.
So I had the privilege of sitting with two religious people. One was the Archbishop for the Roman Catholic Church, and the other was the Archdeacon for the Anglican faith. And when I spoke with the Archbishop for the Catholic Church, he was making the interesting point that, actually he made three interesting points that I pulled out, and hopefully we can hear the clips as they come on this morning. One was about the home, that people are confined to home. And he was making the point that while we live in homes, yes, but we leave the home. And our lives are based on leaving home. So we leave to go to school, we leave to go to work, we leave to go to the shop, we leave to go to the beach or whatever. But now all of a sudden we are thrown home.
Confinement.
So there's nowhere to go. So we have no choice now but to learn to live with each other. And so whereas you can run away from the children and run away from the noise and run away from the crying babies, because you have to go to the mall, and run away from the husbands and the wives and the lady friends and the men friends, now you have no choice but to stay at home. And he made an interesting point regarding that. I'm not sure if we can get that clip. While we wait for that, there was another interesting point he made about the effect on the clergy. And again, and this is not just locally, but certainly worldwide, we have the clip. Okay, fine. So we'll go to the Archbishop, and he's talking about the confinement in homes that people are dealing with.
Okay.
This was part of the crisis of COVID. You know, that suddenly people had to stay home, and they had to learn to live with each other. You know, when the natural thing was to get away. You know, home was a place that you go and you stay and you sleep and that, but you left to go to work, you left to go to school, you left to go with your friends, you left to go to the mall, you always, all the time leaving home, you know. And the concept of home as a place for nurturing family, for nurturing values, for the education and upbringing of children, and for interrelationships, that gift of exchange between couples and in relationships within families and all that, and also home within the neighborhood, and how homes around each other support each other and connect with each other.
So that was the Archbishop there talking about the value really of homes. And I think over time we've kind of lost that almost, because we've stopped teaching basic values in homes. And so now this is a time to go back to those basics and retrain ourselves and retrain our children, so that hopefully coming out of this short time of being forced to be together, that we can remember what it is to learn the simple, free values, so that we can recreate ourselves, so that, you know, coming out of this 6 months down the road, that we are better people for it, in spite of having to be forced into it, that we become better people as a result of it.
I want to add, I mean, since the urbanization of things and you know, the nuclear single-parent household, persons moving to the city, you know, for work and so on, we've seen less and less of a community sort of vibe.
Spirit,
and so persons don't, there's not a yard anymore where the kids can come into the yard and play. You know, everybody's confined to their apartments, you know, into very quiet communities. It's not a close-knit situation as much as before.
But you see, I mean, this brings another point. We talked about that as well, not we, but, you know, in another forum. And the whole issue of what do you do with your children? Because based on your economic status in life, you actually have a yard to play in, or you don't. And so that raises the question of, well, what do you do now? And these are the reasons why. Because I actually couldn't understand why it is that, and they were using the word trapped, that people feel trapped in their homes. And I couldn't get it until somebody sort of hit my head with a hammer and said, but Judy, yeah, because they don't have a yard. So all they have is a 2x4, and they really need to get out of there to get some fresh air to get out, which is why they leave to go wherever. And all of a sudden now, all they're seeing literally is 4 walls with children.
And sometimes the 4 walls, I mean, the conditions of the 4 walls. Sometimes some persons may not have pipe-borne water. You know, how do you tell somebody to stay within that situation?
And that was a statement on Facebook. I think Jimmy Fletcher was making the statement. And that was coming also out, because I saw a related statement from the Indian perspective, that pipe-borne water, just the simple act of washing your hands is a privilege in a lot of communities. And so now all of a sudden you're faced with this reality. This is your life. And they're telling you to stay in it, you know, and this can drive people crazy.
But there's the flip side of that too. Even with persons who have, let us just say, for lack of a better term, the proper 4 walls. And it's something I often discuss with a very good friend of mine. You know, we work hard, we construct those 4 walls, and then we come home and we go straight into one of those rooms, probably the bathroom, and then straight into a room. The kids are in their room, you know, on their tablets, on their television sets, or what have you, for a couple of hours in the night, and they wake up and everybody go their separate ways again.
Exactly.
But now you're confined to that one room. The other rooms you've never made any use of, you now have to possibly make use of those other rooms, the kitchens, the balconies, you know, the living rooms. I mean, again, most of us grew up, you know, socializing within the home. You know, the family structure in the living room, you do things together in the kitchen, in the balcony, in the yard, as you guys were saying. I mean, even at this time of year, at Easter time, these were family times, Christmas time. And
Like
over the years, we've
flying.
seen those
Exactly.
things deteriorate. Christmas time is a time to go out and fetch. And everybody, like we've been saying, we've grown accustomed to
out.
going
Yeah,
out.
you leave.
know, going out. And when we come in, it's only for a few hours.
Correct.
So now to do this for 10 hours or even for
24
hours, it's really, really difficult. It's not normal for a lot of us. And it will take a toll on a number of us. Some of us are better at handling it than others, but it is something that we understand. However, we still encourage persons to obey the law and practice the protocols. If you're supposed to stay inside, stay inside. Yesterday was a 24-hour curfew, but we still got reports of persons driving around and the police having to remind folks, hey, the country's on a 24-hour lockdown.
Yeah.
But you were going into, are you taking back the hand?
No, go ahead.
I wanted to just sort of touch base again with the Archbishop, and he was commenting also on the impact of the clergy. And you talk about the homes and, you know, people being in a room doing stuff that they haven't done before. And the Archbishop now is saying that from a clergy point of view, they're now reaching out to people from behind the television, from social media.
Virtually.
Exactly. And that also has its own challenges for the clergy. And you were making an interesting point off camera as well. I heard another priest saying to his congregation, if you wanted to make a contribution, then you put it in an envelope, and then, you know, when the country opens up again, you bring that envelope back into church. But again, we're seeing that the congregations are not able even to do their tithing. And so they're being asked, okay, how are you going to make your tithe this year or this month or this week or whatever? And that's also an integral part of the church, making a tithe, giving a contribution, because then also that contributes to the livelihood of the clergy. You know, so there's so many different facets to this. But if we can hear the second clip from the Archbishop, him talking about the impact on the clergy of the lockdown.
So the Holy Thursday is a day for giving. That's how I describe it. And giving means Eucharist, thanksgiving, you know, giving of self, the washing of the feet, priesthood, self-offering, leadership by example. You know, then Good Friday is the day for dying. And it is the day for self-emptying, humility, powerlessness, and self-sacrifice. Jesus dies on the cross for us. And Easter is a day for living. And the resurrection, the victory of life over death, light over darkness. And Jesus is our Passover, and he is risen and alive. So that's how we are going to celebrate the Triduum. But you know, the Pope in his message for Holy Week said for the church and for the whole world, he said, in the silence of our cities, the Easter gospel will resound.
So that was actually the Archbishop talking to and delivering the Easter message, which is very relevant. We're still in Sunday Gloria,
Sunday Gloria,
right?
yes.
And so tomorrow being Easter Sunday, I actually wanted to end with that clip, but there you go, it's been played. And so if you can then now play the last clip from the Archbishop is where he talked about the actual impact on the clergy. And the Cokes in the no, Cokes, I shouldn't say Cokes.
You can say Cokes.
Carlton.
You know, what you think? So we're not still at the Cook's lie.
While we wait for the next clip to come on, I think it's coming on.
So the Holy Thursday
Yes.
is a day for giving. That's how I describe it. And giving means Eucharist, thanksgiving. You know, giving of self, the washing of the feet, priesthood, self-offering, leadership by example. You know, then Good Friday is the day for dying. And it is the day for self-emptying, humility, powerlessness, and self-sacrifice. Jesus dies on the cross for us. And Easter is a day for living. And the resurrection, the victory of life over death, light over darkness. And Jesus is our Passover, and he is risen and alive. So that's how we are going to celebrate the Triduum. But you know, the Pope in his message for Holy Week said for the church and for the whole world, he said, in the silence of our cities, the Easter gospel will resound.
I like that, the way he ended there, in the silence of our city, that was how we were going to be celebrating the Easter. And I see Coke sort of trying to bend in to hear what I'm saying. So I'm going to now hand over to you, Carlton, and allow you to now run with it in a
Merci, Judy. Combien ça va nous ici avec ça qui a pris quoi? C'est nous avons revisité ça qui prend quoi en semaine qui passait ou bien ça nous en saison KWM quand les vini pour vendredi saint samedi gloria aujourd'hui dimanche Pâques ou quand ça Maze Judy a parlé puis Bishop Robert Rivers et puis teni en chaque information là ka bail parmi bagay touché à c'est les vini pour nous quand les hommes nous on dit dans communauté nous la kay nous ka quitter kay la pour aller en travail nous ka quitter pour aller en l'école nous ka quitter pour partir et puis Jean quand à présent ça qui bien important il y en a ces bagages là nous supposer qu'a payer attention pour c'est nous une chance à présent pour parler puis on a l'autre pour communiquer puis on a l'autre pour faire relation ça à nous briser qui et puis un homme avec femme avec maman famille pour chance ça veille comme opportunité qui nous toujours t'es capati qui t'es là présent nous dans là il y en a ces bagages là qui et bon pour nous ça nous oui c'est relation entre homme et puis femme maman enfin famille il parlait en sur manière ça a affecté religion ou quand ils savent catholique qu'a célébrer ça c'est c'est holiday religion qui est bien important les vini pour un temps quoi présent quand même nous a parlé de ça quand un chay bagay déjà fait il dit un chay c'est prêtre là avec monde qui après chance là pour servir ou peut servir selfono pour ça parler puis prêtre pour ça haine conseil là brisé comme ça là bien veille messieurs dames en une manière et ben l'autre nous tout cas tout fait qu'on nous affecté avec mi et il y en a c'est religion c'est une autre institution qui tout fait quoi affecté en bas vermin COVID-19.
Okay, and I just want to acknowledge some of our followers on Facebook. Cynthia Labadie, she said the church must assist. Another one, Angelita Rennie, she was wondering whether there's a 24-hour curfew tomorrow. Tomorrow, the supermarkets and mini-marts are allowed to operate until 2 p.m. tomorrow, so you are allowed to go out and get your necessities and get back home. But the police commissioner reminding that it is not a holiday as normal, not a day to go to the beach, not a day to go on your river line, on your around the island as we would normally do around this time. The church doors will also remain closed. A number of churches have been doing their services and the masses virtually, and that has been working out. We also have Alisonia Lawrenson. She's encouraging folks to stay home. It will prevent the spread of the virus that will spare our lives. Sarah Passini, she's writing in from the UK. She's indoors. I am in the UK locked in over 2 weeks now. And she's encouraging St. Lucians to stay indoors, stay safe, as this is not a joke.
I just want to backpedal to the Prime Minister's announcement this week in terms of the social stabilization plan. One of the things that I think a lot of people were looking out for was the announcement from Lucelec with regard to what is Lucelec going to do to help persons who've been affected by the COVID-19 situation. And the Prime Minister did confirm that an arrangement was made. Roger, if we could go to that clip to just provide the public with some information with respect to that.
The St. Lucia Electricity Services, Lucelec, has given its commitment to provide support to those on welfare and those who may have lost their jobs as a direct result of COVID-19 crisis. Working with the relevant agencies to identify these customers, the company will suspend disconnections for these groups at this time. This will be reviewed monthly to determine if this pool should be expanded. Lucelec is also assisting the government of St. Lucia with covering some of the costs associated with operating the quarantine and isolation centers.
So that word there coming from the Prime Minister of the announcement from Lucelec on the relief to be provided to persons and businesses affected by this COVID-19 situation. This week we also saw the 24-hour curfew being reduced to 10 hours and zoning being implemented. Monday was the last day of the 24-hour curfew. If we're doing a timeline, the national shutdown ended on Monday. It was the last day of the 24-hour curfew. The businesses were busy on Monday restocking for the week that was to come, where persons would be heading out to make purchases and so on. Continued appeal was made for physical distancing. I think the Office of the Prime Minister released a cartoon on purchasing protocols. There was continued appeal to stay indoors as much as possible. Banks, supermarkets, gas stations were open to facilitate using physical distancing measures. So that was still put in place for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And zoning was implemented from TKI Gap to the Bordelais Gap to divide the island into Zone 1 in the north and Zone 2 in the south. So we have a clip from Guy Joseph who, during a press conference this week, outlined how the zoning would be implemented shortly after the Prime Minister made this announcement.
We've divided the country into two zones, a northern zone and a southern one. The northern zone starts from ancillary, or to be more precise, the Tikai Junction, which is part of the ancillary district, and goes down to the area of Bordelais Correctional Facility. And that zone would include everybody that is north of these areas that I spoke about. The southern zone starts from that same area from Tikai going south and ends in the community of Prale, which is the last established community before you get to the Bordelais area, which we have earmarked as the boundary for this area. So everybody between Canaries and Prale will do business between Soufrière and Vieux-Fort as the center of commercial activity for them. These persons are not permitted to come up to Castries during that period of time.
Now, the acting commissioner of police was also on hand during that press briefing this week. He explained how the geographical zoning would be enforced.
We would have what we call barriers in place, a roadblock, and it will be manned by police officers.
Checkpoints.
So that a bus or a vehicle, I should say, coming in at that checkpoint would need to have a very good reason to cross that checkpoint. And one of the reasons I could give would be somebody taking one to a hospital. Mm-hmm. Yes, so that is a very good reason for this. Or an employee with proper identification that, hey, I am working at a food establishment and I need to be at that establishment. So this person with proper identification and so on could be allowed to get to the other zone.
In zoning has been part of the efforts to limit mobility of persons as best as possible to reduce the rates of possible coronavirus transmission, as contact tracing is also now underway. So that was an effort on the part of the authorities to limit people moving about. And of course, with permission, Tony, you did have permission to cross the border.
I got that permission, and like I said, the police requested whatever documentation I had. I did see a number of vehicles, well, a few vehicles in terms of restocking up supplies in the south, the supermarkets and what have you along the way. Someone also asking on Facebook, when would zoning end? We expect there to be an update on Tuesday because, again, one would recognize that this situation is quite fluid and that you can't put measures in place, say, for 2 months, 3 months when it comes to these strategies. So on Tuesday, we're hoping that we'll get an update from the Prime Minister or the relevant authorities as to whether there would be an extension of the curfew hours, the limited curfew, as well as the zoning.
And please note that it is contingent on so many factors, including the number of new cases,
yes,
the performance of the general public when you are allowed to head out. Are you, obeying and abiding to the physical distancing protocols, the purchasing protocols, 6 foot distance? All of these things the authorities are taking note of when making decisions such as a shutdown, curfew, etc.
Exactly.
On Monday, we had an interview with the chief medical officer, and she explained the task that is involved in tracing the interactions of those diagnosed with the disease. We see the last case was due to this young man, an 18-year-old,
Yes.
having been in contact with one of the last few cases. So contact tracing is underway, and part of the reason for the zoning, part of the reason for physical distancing, etc., is to better help the authorities trace the persons, that those who've been diagnosed with COVID-19, be able to trace them and to be able to contain the transmission of COVID-19. We have a clip from Dr. Sharon Belmar-George from that interview.
For every confirmed case that we get, the level of contact tracing that we have to do is intensive. And if you think of yourself, your activities during the normal day, if you go to the gym, if you go to work, if you go to the supermarket, you go to a shop, whoever you see and whoever you speak to becomes a contact. So the potential of spreading COVID-19 based on its level of ineffectiveness is quite easy. So by keeping everyone at home in quarantine, it reduces the number of physical contacts that you have and halting the disease in its track.
We also engaged the Bankers Association, the Bakers Association, and Massey Stores Limited this week on preparations for reduced curfew and resumption of their operations. We spoke to Massey's Martin Dorville, the managing director there, and he spoke about going about our roles as responsibly as we can, just a reinforcement of the CMO, the Prime Minister's words, going about our duties, our responsibilities, our part in this whole COVID-19 response as responsibly as we can during this crisis, to come out on the other end better than we went in. And I thought this was a very important point that he made, about how everybody is making the effort, everybody is playing their role. It's really up to the public, to ensure that they do their part.
There is going to be life after COVID. And we need to set the standard for ourselves and for others to follow, right? For some of us, for most of us, this will be our legacy for our children. When we tell the story of COVID, we want to see how we as Saint Lucians have set the examples, how we looked after each other, and we want that to be the truthful story, right? Our actions, very, very importantly, our actions have an impact on the lives of others. It cannot get more serious than that, right? Including ourselves, the lives of others and ourselves. The rules may not be perfect. We are writing the rules as we go in some cases. We are writing it even better from those in the international community. So I think where we are now, we need to make the best of it. And I can assure you that organizations like Massey, we are not going to give up, and we are there for you. I know that our distributors feel the same way. I know that our manufacturers feel the same way. We have brokers who are on the port that are bending over backwards trying to get stuff for us into those supermarkets. So there is a huge army of people working to get this thing in place so that we can all survive it, and we can survive it well. We have to throw our support behind the authorities so that we can come out of this thing as best as we can. Let us make the best of it.
Word there from Martin Dorville, the managing director of Massey Stores Limited. Everybody playing their part, and even to the point of becoming a casualty. Judy, you spoke to Winston Anderson this week. Can you give us an update on the impact on his business at Sandals?
Essentially, we were talking from the position of him being just one of many people within the industry, being on the front lines, literally between two areas of the team members on the one hand and then the guests on the other hand. And so he's now balancing having to deal with team members and their own fears of having to deal with guests, and then the guests now who, multifaceted, some of whom didn't want to leave while they were told you have to leave because flights are going to be locked down, airports are going to be locked down, so you must go, but they felt safe being in Saint Lucia, and so they didn't want to leave. But then, so he now has to deal with that, balance the team members out, because the team members are also fearing, okay, what are they going to be getting, are they going to be getting any transmissions between guests and team members? So it's all of that, and so he's now speaking to that when I interviewed him, and he talked to essentially representing not just the Sandals chain, but certainly other hoteliers, all hoteliers on island, because now all of the industry is dealing with the impact of COVID-19, and he went as far as to mention the taxi drivers, the restaurateurs, just everyone who is directly, farmers, fishers, suppliers within the chain, and that business is shut. So suppliers who knew that they could count on any hotel to purchase from them directly no longer has that market. It's just gone, and literally overnight, and nobody planned for this, you know, so he essentially goes through the impact of that and how the industry is reeling from COVID-19. Hopefully we can have those clips played.
We have the clip ready.
Perhaps even to go back to back is fine. Yeah.
But also one of the things that we did very quickly was that we were very vigilant. We started ensuring that we practice the hygiene aspect, the sanitation, the sanitizer became the most popular thing. Our organization, like many of the other hotels organization I know, being in the Saint Lucia Hotel and Hospitality Association, I know that all the hotels started practicing quickly and putting in safe practices in place. And a lot of education, I can say. I'm proud to say that across the group, in Saint Lucia, amongst the hotels, there's a lot of education and sensitization going in place. For me, every time I think about that, Judy, I get emotional.
Yes.
Because beyond the direct team members that work within the industry, the Caribbean, and if I take it home to Saint Lucia, our farmers, our taxi drivers, our vendors, our musicians, the list goes on, and the direct team members rely solely on tourism. And so, me, like all the other hoteliers in Saint Lucia, I know how painful it was to truly have to close your doors and to see the livelihood of these people who are so committed, so loyal, really have to be sent home. It certainly for me was probably one of the most painful experiences that I've had to do. And to speak to so many of our stakeholders, whether it be the tour operators who have been loyal, the taxi drivers, and all of them who really seen something that they've worked so hard and see the door closing.
Yes.
It's unlike something I've never seen. The hotel operation.
Yes.
We have 3 hotels in Saint Lucia. I am on the front line, so to speak, so I interact directly with guests every day. I interact very importantly with our team members every day. And it has been a frightening, sobering, and enlightening, and a period that it allows you to truly reflect.
Yes.
I've had to become counselor for the guests during the early stage, because before it truly started hitting home to us, it was hitting home to a lot of the other bigger countries.
An emotional Mr. Winston Anderson there, talking on his experiences dealing with COVID-19 and relating that back to the team members and to the guests and suppliers as well. Carlton, I'll throw back to you.
Merci, Judy. Là, on savent, monsieur, ça c'était monsieur Anderson qui a représenté Sandals Saint Lucia. Vous bien savez, Sandals ni 3 hôtels Saint Lucia et qu'on a une organisation qui tout fait qu'on a affecté. Yo c'est on. Qu'a parlé les puis ou qu'ils savent, il dit un chay bagay yo ni pour agir et puis parmi l'autre bagay parler dit là il fini pour travailler, yo ni pour yo teni pour vrai, yon compagnie moun la caillou qui a travailler puis parce que c'est hôtel la fermé quoi qui ça yo kay fait l'ani moun qui est choisi pour été dit yo été en hôtel là c'est pas yo de ça fait yo senti koyo ya te primaire pour yo quoi yo teni pour mettre bail en place pour ça ou kay savent aussi c'est moun qui ka travailler puis hôtel là c'est chauffeur taxi ou ni c'est Wivandez là en quoi yon manière et ben l'autre qui dit ça ka fait bon coûte la peine yo teni pour prendre décision ça ça mais en chaité ni pour fait combien ça c'est yon 20 000 COVID-19 n'a metté nous tout à son dans situation côté nous ka prendre pas du temps nous ka aller en parmi l'autre bagay nous a discuté ici en semaine sous parti savent là vini pour lundi ouais qui nous un soulagement hod 24 néditant en dedans gouvernement te mis ça en place quand lundi c'était jour côté annoncement fait nous kay anti soulagement mardi c'était jour les autorités bail toutes les autres ces types là supermarket ces types boutiques là moun ka vend ni gaz pour traitement ni gaz bay marché nous c'est place business une chance pour yo repleni et puis mettez bagay là parce que premier ministre là et les autorités hod conseil ka sorti hod 6 mois déjà d'accord moun ka une chance pour aller dans faire ti commission yo point bagay yo te besoin essential manger boire essential nous une chance pour ça maintenant te ka parmi l'autre bagay qui continuer te ka mercenaire bay public là vini pour faire min COVID-19 c'était distance là chain distance 6 pieds masse mettez masse là quand on place business là vini pour un autre bagay qui était bien important c'était zone et nous parler des zones et nous tenir ici et puis nous Guy Joseph il annoncé manière ça fait zone nan te kay trouver quoi manière il te kay travail là il dit bon nan te ka commencer pour zone nan des zones yo diviser pays en dedans yon en sud là yon en nord là et manière ça te ka opéré assez qui Tikaï c'était bon pour Jean Lanslawe et puis toutes les autres communes hod Lanslawe puis place qu'on Castui nous ka parler Gozile Babouno pour monter juste Denry Bodley ça c'était bon ou pas ça sous sortant nord là ou pas ça là sous l'autre zone qui c'était sud là sous pas tenir permission sous pas tenir yon passe l'autre bon nan te ka commencer même Tikaï là mais c'était pour moun en sud là et qui ka commencer hod Canawi pour aller vieux fort à Doubout Pralin et toutes ces communes quand raison qui yo teni ça c'est parce que les yon moun hen vemin à présent c'est Jean médical la teni en manière pour yo trouver qui manière yo ka vieux passer ouais côté comment nous te parler bay quand si yo ni des zones ça c'est yon c'est raison de ça ka assister fait bagay pli mais à sous manière zone te kay opéré nous teni hod département police monsieur Milton Desi qui dit c'est police là qu'a fait ça yoni pour faire la kay ni bawad en chaidi nous qui ja passé hawe ça été ni et Tony te ka ban exemple il descend dans sud pays avec premier bail là où il vient c'est bawad la police kay mando est-ce qui raison pour ka aller en l'autre zone et pour kay ni pour potirer document pour moucher ko ka aller qui ça ou kay fait en lettre en bagay parce que kay bien savent la nous raison pour aller il parlant là ça il dit par exemple, si on est un monde qui est malade, et que ça mouche ça, date qu'on amène mon na ouais docteur. Monde qui a fait un service essentiel, c'est monde ça yo te ka quitter au passé. Mais en tout, yo te ka encourager monde pour waiter en dedans et qu'on nous bien savent demain si Dieu veut as a résultat de manière bagay lanté travail ou trouver nous un pays à kay ouvert pour juste désert mais encore yo ka encourager ou waiter la kay mais c'est sous pendant raison pour sortir dehors pas sorti et si maintenant de aller Jesse ou kay bien changer moi ni mot parole ça ka dit jic toujours 20 maintenant pas ka marcher il pas de pied il pas de patte il pas de zèle il pas ka marcher c'est monde qui ka marcher qu'on a waité en dedans waité kayo.
Thank you for that, Cooks. We're going to continue the broadcast with some calls. We want to open the lines, so if you could just put up the number, producers, the number up there for persons to call in and tell us about your experience this week. Quite an eventful week it was. And going back to the timeline, this week WASCO confirmed drought conditions and advised persons to, I mean, it is very unfortunate, inconvenient at the time when we're calling for persons to practice good hygiene, wash your hands, that we are getting confirmation from WASCO that we are experiencing drought conditions island-wide. We had an interview from Honorable Ezekiel Joseph this week, Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries, Natural Resources and Cooperatives, coming on here to speak to us about the drought conditions, coming on here to speak to us about the plans that are put in place for if there needs to be an if there is an emergency situation, the plans that are currently being discussed by Cabinet if this drought situation gets any worse. The minister also spoke on fishermen being allowed to return to sea this week. This was a very important development, as the week before fishermen were stopped. Of course, we also had the concern of fishermen practicing in the illicit trade of transporting persons from Martinique to Saint Lucia, illegal border entry of persons. So this week, the minister announced that fishermen are allowed to return to sea on condition. Only licensed vessels, that is the 270 licensed vessels, are allowed to head out to sea. That is the only vessels registered between 2019 to 2020 are recognized as such. Captains must carry their fisherman's ID and vessel certificate copy out to sea. Captains can head out before the curfew breaks at 5 a.m. Before the boat leaves, the captain must call to alert their lighthouse of their departure. All boats must return before the commencement of the curfew hour at 7 p.m. and punitive measures will be taken by Marine Police for non-compliance. So please take note of that for fishermen. That note for fishermen there confirmed and announced by Ezekiel Joseph. We have a call right now. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you all doing today?
We're good, thank you.
Good enough.
Can you tell us where you're calling from and what your experience this week has been?
Well, I got as you know, the COVID situation affects everybody, and my business is in transportation, so it's kind of, not kind of, it's actually dead. So I had a lot of time to go through Facebook and see what's going on. And I noticed a lot of people having little situations with the police officers, which I've constantly told them about to support our policemen, because they are the front lines. So I was disappointed in something I saw on Facebook also. But I'm just very happy with this program. At least we get accurate information on the program, especially for what the government has to say, because you get all kinds of rumors and wrong information all over Facebook. So I just want to compliment you on this program, whoever is in charge of the government of Saint Lucia. And yes, I had a great week, no problem, but I'm just asking the people of Saint Lucia again, because I see most things from Facebook, because I'm not in the country, that they need to respect the officers and help them, cooperate with them to make things a little easier for the people of Saint Lucia. And again, I want to tell Mr. Cox, he's doing a great job. Yes, I'm just proud of his work. And just let him know today is the Sabbath. And my grandmother would be proud if we had gone to church today. I'm not at church anyway. But have a great day, my friend.
Thank you very much for that call. Someone calling from abroad there. Are you still on the line?
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us where you're calling from?
I'm calling from North Carolina.
And what has your experience been there so far?
So that's what I just said. I have a transportation service.
No, in terms of the lockdown.
When I stay home, that doesn't affect me much because everything is shut down. So I stay home, go on Facebook, find entertainment, make my videos, talk to people, encourage them. It doesn't affect me much. We have to deal with the situation. Just follow the rules, follow the law. That's all we got to do.
Nous bien apprécié ou courir hod l'Amérique monsieur y en a ces questions moi de caivle mando là quand chay moun peut-être hasav communier tant voix moi de quand vous devez savoir qui ça ou même j'ai fait personnellement parce que nous en chay artiste en chay moun ka sort dehors et yo même ka fait rôle yo lay vini pour assister en yon manière ban l'autre pour yon moun qui toujours sur social media est-ce que ou j'ai bay pièce conseil est-ce ou a fait pièce vidéo quand encourager moun laver la main yo mettez masque qui ça ou a fait en ligne de ça lay vini pour situation avec min Covid là.
Bon ça moi j'ai fait moi j'ai encouragé moun et moi j'ai encouragé toutes les pour coûter sa ministre moi même pas je me faire vidéo même mais moi toujours pas dit pour coûter gouvernement coûter ça c'est ministre Cadio côté police, c'est police, c'est gouvernement, c'est donc il y a dit laver la main yo. So moi j'ai encouragé yo. Et moi j'ai encouragé pour respecter police because you also côté ça moi devant vidéo et problème il y a tout ça supposé en tout cas nous avons vu la COVID-19 ça là. Monde supposé supporter police là. Supporter gouvernement. C'est ça moi toujours pas dit yo. Tous les jours moi venir là.
Merci, Anchaï, nous apprécions ça. Ok, merci, Anchaï, nous apprécions ou couiller là. Encore, messieurs, dames, nous voulons savoir, ligne non ouvert, pour couiller nous ici. L'IMOA, c'est 4, 6, 8. D, yon 6D. Ça, c'est 4, 5, 4, 6, excusez-moi, 8. D, yon 6D. 4, 6, 8. 2162. Ou peut couiller nous ici avec anecdote nous ça ou expériencer avec qui manière bagay là là vini pour 20 000 COVID-19.
Carlton, if I may, I just got an interesting comment from someone who is congratulating us on our 6-foot distance, recognizing that we're not wearing the mask, which I thought interesting, but he says, okay, it's great that, you know, we're keeping the distances, so that's fine, and so we've got his blessing in that regard. His name is Chester, by the way, so just want to say hello to Chester. And he makes an interesting comment as well, that he thinks that the government or NEMO should give priests and pastors a care package, as they are affected just as badly, and so he's specifically referring to the priest in Deriso, who cannot do his weekly shopping as there's no money. He says that the people in the community have to support those who can afford to help. And I think people are rising to that occasion as well. We have a caller.
Hi, good morning. Can you tell us where you're calling from?
I'm calling from New York, Brooklyn, New York.
Okay, thank you so much. Can you tell us what your experience has been so far during this COVID-19 crisis?
Well, my experience over there, I'm an essential worker, and we're taking care of the elderly, so we have to be at work. My employees go out to the field, and it's not easy. People look at it and think it's easy, but they have to take it very seriously. I'm very proud of Saint Lucia, the way the Prime Minister and the people in position handle the COVID-19. I want to tell them that the Saint Lucian people, they have to just respect and just be patient and obey the rules. If we do that, we will go further. Because myself, I wish I was in Saint Lucia right now. Because when I look and I see, on Wednesday, my daughter came to see me because my daughter is a nurse. And my daughter had to stay out. And I had to put a plate of food on the step for her to come and take it. And I had to go back inside. So the people in Saint Lucia, have to just listen and stop criticizing the government and what the people is trying to do. Because I feel, and I've been following Saint Lucia, and Saint Lucia is doing a great job. I am very proud of what you all are doing. All the people in the GIS, NEMO, my sister in NEMO, I am very proud of her. She's doing a great job. Mr. Cox, Ms. Ditterville, the Prime Minister, Guy Joseph, everybody. Those I don't remember the names, but I just want to thank them for all what they are doing. From my family and we want to thank the government and the people of St. Lucia. And I would like to advise the people of St. Lucia, the 6 feet distance, keep the distance and keep washing your hands and do what you're supposed to do. Help everybody, because we cannot do it alone. We have to do it together. Thank you very much.
Before you leave, can you just tell us, do you know of anybody who is battling the coronavirus who is a St. Lucian or has succumbed?
In New York, yes.
Okay. Can you tell us how it's been hitting the St. Lucian community, the Caribbean community up there?
Well, the Caribbean community up there has been impacted badly because one of my employees, her brother just passed away yesterday. And all they told her is that they call and say that her brother passed away, and that's all.
Okay.
And also I have my employee also that's battling with it, but I spoke to her yesterday, and she said that she's doing better.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that. Do continue keeping safe, and I would imagine you're taking all the measures necessary to not contract this deadly virus.
Yes, that's what we're doing. I try my best. I work from home, and I try very, very hard. Once again, I want to thank you all for a job well done. I ask that God will continue to protect and guide you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Quite sobering information there coming from New York of persons really, dealing with complications from this disease, persons who are succumbing. And she was just talking about the Caribbean community having to deal with this. And interesting, she mentioned that she wished she was in Saint Lucia.
And we've been hearing that all during the week. A number of folks in New York in particular saying they wish they were home. That, all the measures that have been put in place seem to be working.
There's a safety net here that we have.
Moi-même, quand ça c'est un bon bagage, tout bonnement. Imaginez un jour qu'on aujourd'hui à tout le monde, c'est l'Amérique qui voulait aller expressément à New York. Et mi à présent, Chaïdi nous a parlé puis monde qui sorti la cadeau. En Chaïdi, moi parler ba yon des fois c'est moi pas à New York, mais yo l'Amérique yo a dit si yo une chance yo a venir yo et puis yo a descendre et yo de ka voudre c'est ici à yo. Et moi quoi yon a cette observation qui bien bon. Si nous t'écoutez là, c'est mon gars dit expressément madame qui j'escouia gouvernement qui a fait un bon travail, il a apprécié ça gouvernement, il a demandé Saint Lucia pour coûter. Et ça c'est monde qui a été l'Amérique. Ça c'est monde nous ka c'est là toute bagaille. Et yo même observé qu'a dit nous ça qui a fait Saint Lucia. Yo apprécié, yo ka mandé moun l'autre pays. Quoi monsieur nous même supposé prendre un exemple en ça. Si Jean l'autre pays qu'on nous quoi bagaille la primaire. C'est genou. Oui. Belle observation là, c'est cette lycéen qu'on nous qui a été l'Amérique. Qu'a dit nous yo apprécié ça gouvernement qu'a fait et yo ka mandé nous pour coûter encore yon a bay lokay bien savant là il vini pour New York expressement. L'autant 700 800 moun ka mo déjà 10 000 moun. Mon monsieur, nous ka tout ça qui est en place, tout ça nous ka parler d'ici à chaîne distance dans la ville en main, couvert fijayo, wete kayo. C'est pour effort ça pour nous nous pas si manger et ben nous pas trouver qu'on en situation côté monde commencer qu'à mort. Grâce à Dieu, merci bon Dieu, nous beaucoup ni personne qui mort ici nous ni monde qui ni vermine mais et yo ka point traitement bien quand ça c'est un bon bagage. Encore nous ka inviter limo ici c'est 4 6 8 Dayon 6 de ou peut couiller nous discuter puis nous ka mettre toute bagaille en bayon pour qui manière bail la passer ainsi maintenant qui manière hier en bas vermine COVID-19 headquarters GIS NTN.
In the meantime, we just want to go back to the timeline for this week, the week that was. This week, we had coinciding with efforts to combat COVID-19, World Health Week observed, World Health Day observed on Tuesday, 7th April, and the theme was support nurses and midwives. And I would imagine, had preparations been made quite sooner to this COVID-19 situation, it would have had a theme closer to that. However, the chief nursing officer delivered an address, and she did speak to the COVID-19 situation, raising the COVID-19 context. I want to go to that clip, if possible. If you could go to Kurthni Shalmain Suraj, the chief nursing officer, if possible. Okay, but first we have a call. Hi, good day.
Hello?
Hello? Hello, good day. Can you tell me where you're calling from and what your experience has been?
From Grosile.
Grosile. What have you been experiencing so far?
Eh bien, ça m'a expérimenté en bagala qui a allé là. Et mon bagage ni c'est plus tard, nous ni pour nous parler à sous la prière. Mon pays a pas capé. Qui m'a maï pas capé. Les moi lever qui m'a maï, nous devons aller pour catéchis. En fait, bon mon Ibn religion catholique là, mais là dans monde quoi là mon ka pèlerinage yo vani. Nous ni pour nous mettre nous en la prière, mon pas capé Dieu, bon Dieu ka passer dans la terre. Merci monsieur.
Thank you very much.
Nous ni point là comme on a déjà dit moun pas ka prédier.
L'année on dit toi qui a prédié ça.
Yes, I mean
nous tout pas ka faire.
Et ben moi que ça il a dit il parler de catéchisme moi ka quoi comme manière était ni pour faire que vous te voulez ou pas te voulez mais après ça c'est pas ça obligé.
Certainly. I want to go back to the clip of the Chief Nursing Officer delivering the address for World Health Day, observed Tuesday, 7th April, raising the COVID-19 context.
Prior to this unforeseen pandemic, the World Health Organization designated the year 2020 as the year of the nurse and midwife. 3 months ago, if someone had asked me what the year of the nurse meant to me, I would have answered then, it means a year to celebrate the achievements and transformation of the profession over the last 200 years. But COVID-19 has brought a new meaning to this year. It now signifies survival, unity, teamwork, and strength. And it seems our medical vocabularies have been reduced to flu-like symptoms, travel history, personal protective equipment, isolation, quarantine, and contact tracing. The high rate of infections and death among nurses and other healthcare providers globally is a serious concern. However, our nurses continue to sacrifice their health in the battle to combat COVID-19. Nurses and other healthcare workers are at the front line of the COVID-19 response, providing care, treatment, contact tracing, and leading community dialogue to address fears and questions.
That was the Chief Nursing Officer delivering an address raising the COVID-19 context for World Health Day, observed Tuesday, 7th April. We are due for a break. We are rounding up our program this morning. But when we come back, pledges flow in ahead of the COVID-19 response telethon scheduled for Sunday. And in our next segment, we will be talking more about this telethon. So do stay tuned for that and more.
Saint Lucia ka registré vermin corona ek I ka fait mouvement ek an chay vitesse tan chaque canef ka kouye pour vigilance publique la fait wolo parler en place publique kon bol en main base ti boutique changer distance sociale 6 pieds hod yon a lot I ka travail tan si vous sentez qu'on pas cordial, quarantine ko, pas en contact et puis l'autre, en cas où tu es exposé. C'est un écuyer, free 11 ou bien n'importe clinique yo pour. Les pays a 10 000 à clé, ça veut dire les supermarkets, pharmacies et puis ATM, yo accessible avant cette souhait. Pays à clé en plein, ça veut dire tout bagay fermé à 24 heures. Servi protocole comme sorti par bureau indication santé. Nous tout ensemble, ça sauve vermine corona. Si nous tous servi Jidla à toutes les.
Together let us win this war. Saint Lucia be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. We are now down to our final segment. I'm joined in studio by Carlton Cyril, widely known as Cokes, Judy de Turville, Tony Nicholas, and this morning we have been just speaking about the week that was, talking about the COVID-19 situation, our response to it, both residents of Saint Lucia here and Saint Lucians living abroad, how we all are coping and trying to, you know, stay clear of this COVID-19 transmission. Tomorrow, Easter Sunday, the government of St. Lucia will be hosting a telethon, and that is the COVID-19 response telethon. It is a fundraiser to provide necessary personal protective equipment for frontline workers. And just to let you know, pledges have been flowing in, you know, in advance of the telethon. We have Sagicor making donations, SNS, Barron Foods Limited making donations as well. There was a press conference held on Tuesday to announce this telethon and the information surrounding it. We now hear from Dominic Fede, the Minister for Tourism, Information and Broadcasting.
What I am very pleased with is the reception to this idea. So far, we have seen a tremendous amount of enthusiasm from people all across the world. We have been able to galvanize over $220,000 in donations from individuals, from large corporations, small corporations, and as well from personal contributions from private citizens of our country. The Telethon will be done in conjunction with the Saint Lucia Social Development Fund, and the funds are going to be raised to help the people on the front line to better serve us at this difficult time. We have to be very mindful of the fact that while nurses and doctors, as we have seen in other countries globally, are in great risk, that we must give them the very best chance of protecting themselves, protecting their lives, protecting their families, and protecting their health. And so gowns are important, and so masks are important, and gloves are important. And so on a daily basis, dealing with patients that are symptomatic require our nurses, our doctors, our police officers who will be enforcing the law, who will be coming into contact. I look at the supermarkets today and the lines are very, very long. And to ensure that that crowd control takes place, our police officers are under tremendous risk of being a victim of a transmission of this virus. And so we must give them the tools that they require.
Honorable Minister Dominic Fede, the Minister for Tourism, Information and Broadcasting, leading this week's press conference on the COVID-19 response telethon. Tony, you have any information, more information on the telethon this week? Well, tomorrow, Sunday.
Tomorrow, yes. Well, it's from 2 to 6 p.m. and it's going to be live on NTN. And we'll also be broadcasting a number of live performances from the homes of persons like Ronald Bohingson, Teddy St. John, and we'll be receiving a number of solidarity messages from individuals, not only in St. Lucia, but across the diaspora as well. So you could tune into NTN. We have a number of partner stations joining in as well tomorrow. I'd also like to remind folks that this week, the COVID-19 response website was launched. So for all your reliable and factual information, you could visit www.covid19response.lc. Yeah.
Okay, quite an undertaking. I know Jamaica has also scheduled a telethon as well. Initially, persons weren't sure how to feel about the reason for the fundraising, and I understand as more information came, also since the Prime Minister made his announcement on the social stabilization, that persons who were affected by losing their jobs and so on would be accommodated. I think the fundraiser seemed more palatable. Okay, well, okay, no problem, we can raise funds. But it's very important, our frontliners, persons who are dealing directly with individuals who very well may have COVID-19 and do have the COVID-19 virus disease, they need to be protected. They have families who need to be protected as well.
Exactly. And very often we see things like persons, some of the critics would say, well, why can't the government? And I always say to persons, even the great United States, we are seeing videos right now where some of the PPE, the protective gear, is lacking. And there's shortages, and persons cannot get what they need to do their jobs properly. So I think it is a very timely intervention. As you said, pledges have already started coming in even ahead of the actual telethon tomorrow. So we are hoping, that everyone tunes in. Those who can pledge their support in one way or the other, we're hoping that as many persons do so tomorrow. Cox?
Oui, encore, monsieur, merci pour supporter KV, nous et écouter nous ces différentes stations. Nous ici à côté de GIS, qui a une information qu'on est pour faire et puis vermin COVID-19. Là où nous avons discuté une activité qui a point court demain si je veux, qui c'est un téléphone côté idée à venir pour si nous ça amassé yo ka essayer amasser à peu près $1 million. Raison ou ka savent là dans chaque ces gens service essentiel là qui devant ka combattre vermin. Police, nurse, docteur, c'est c'est chauffeur ambulance là, c'est différents moun qui travailler puis niveau quoi idée à venir pour nous assister ces moun qu'on bien savent Là vini pour équipement pour protéger ces moun nan, ces masques là, ces gloves là, ces coverall là. Ces bagages ça nous bien besoin yo besoin et pour kay bien ouais manière ces moun ça yo ka venir directement en contact et puis moun qui a trouvé ko yo affecté. Quoi demain si Dieu veut nous encourager pour vous même en yon manière ben l'autre manière ou ça sous sa bay pièce de donation avec manière ça kay fait qui a commencé demain en studio ici à l'année plus information là ça ministre a bien parlé qui dit en chaque organisation et qui l'ont maintenant Sajiko SNS Baron Foods parmi les autres c'est moun ça a déjà commencé puis déjà Yohani a pris 220 000 dollars Jean c'est quoi nous encourageons pour bailler ça au paix et yon manière ben l'autre nous c'est moun qui directement kagoumé côte 20 000 yo aussi ka un petit soulagement pour savent yo ka même si équipement yo besoin pour combattre COVID-19 encore yo information moi qui bien important pour nous savent pour information Tony just ban nous là venu pour internet là la adresse où ça aller qui c'est www.covid19response.lc soit aller là ou ka une information qui doit être là information ou besoin ou ka une là yo déjà établi pour vous qui peut-être ni question et vle savoir n'importe bagaille concerné vermin COVID-19.
Thank you very much, Carlton. Well, we've run out of time. I'd like to thank everybody here on the panel, Tony, Judy, Carlton, Cooks, for just sitting in and just us having this nice dialogue on the week that just occurred. As I mentioned and continue to mention, quite an eventful week in terms of our COVID response. The Prime Minister making a special announcement on how he's going to stabilize things in Saint Lucia in terms of providing subsistence allowance to the public. Lucilec also coming out with word from Lucilec that there will be a grace period moratorium on the payments for persons who have been affected by COVID-19. Also want to mention, give a special thanks to the team that is behind the scenes at the GIS studios. We have our persons in the control room, our producers, our cameramen. Also thanks to them as well, as it helps to deliver you the perfect broadcast essentially, and providing good clips, providing good broadcast overall, making sure that we can get the information to the general public in a timely fashion. We'd like to thank you for watching. It's all the time we have for now. Saying good afternoon and good weekend. Happy Easter. Yeah?
Happy Easter to you guys as well.
Indeed. Thank you. Jessie Leonce here signing off for now. Do enjoy the rest of your day.